My beloved child, before you leave this message, listen carefully. Because you did not find these words by accident. There was a season in your life when you prayed silently, when you cried where nobody could see, when you wondered why the doors were still closed, why the answers were delayed, and why your blessing seemed so far away. But today, I want you to know this. The waiting was not a rejection. The silence was not a punishment. The delay was not the end of your story. Behind the scenes, something was changing. While you thought nothing was happening, I was preparing what you could not see. I was removing obstacles you did not know existed. I was protecting you from things you thought you wanted. My beloved child, the reason this message reached you today is because your season is changing. The door that remained closed for so long is beginning to open. The blessing you thought was forgotten is being brought closer. But before you receive what is coming, there is something you must understand. Not every delay was meant to stop you. Some delays were designed to prepare you. So stay with me until the end of this message, because there is a truth about your waiting season that you need to hear today, my beloved child. Now that you are still here, I want you to understand something deeper. Because the reason you waited so long was not because I forgot you. The reason the answer did not come when you expected was not because your prayers were ignored. There were things happening in the unseen world that your eyes could not recognize. You were looking at the closed door, but I was looking at what was happening behind that door. You were looking at the empty hands, but I was preparing what those hands would soon hold. You were counting the days of waiting, but I was counting the moments until everything was ready. My beloved child, I know there were nights when you questioned everything. You smiled in front of others, but deep inside, you were carrying a burden that nobody knew about. You encouraged others while your own heart needed encouragement. You told people, "I'm fine," while secretly asking yourself, "God, when will my season change? God, when will I finally see the result of my prayers? God, why does it feel like everyone is moving forward while I'm standing still?" If you have ever felt this way, write "I trust God's timing" in the comments. Not because you are trying to prove anything to anyone, but because this is your reminder that your story is still being written, my child. You must understand the difference between a closed door and a protected door. Sometimes I close a door because what is behind it is not connected to your purpose. Sometimes I delay something because receiving it too early would have damaged you. Instead of blessing you, you asked for the blessing. But you did not see the preparation required to carry that blessing. You asked for the opportunity, but you did not see the strength you needed to handle that opportunity. You asked for a new beginning, but you did not see the old things that needed to leave your life first. The waiting season was not empty. It was a season of transformation. While you were wondering, why is nothing happening? Something was happening inside you. Your patience was growing. Your faith was becoming stronger. Your vision was becoming clearer. Your heart was becoming ready. My beloved child, think about a seed buried deep inside the ground for days, maybe weeks. Nothing appears above the surface. Someone looking from the outside may think nothing is happening, but underneath the ground, something powerful is taking place. The seed is breaking, the roots are growing, the foundation is forming, and then suddenly, at the right moment, a new life appears. That is how your blessing works. People may not see your progress. People may not understand your journey. People may even question why you are still believing, but they do not see what I see. They do not know what I have prepared. There were moments when you thought you lost everything. But what you called a loss, I was using as a lesson. What you called rejection, I was using as protection. What you called an ending, I was preparing as a new beginning. My child, do not allow temporary situations to convince you that your future is permanent. A difficult chapter does not mean the entire book is finished. A painful season does not mean your life will always be painful. A delayed blessing does not mean a denied blessing. I want you to remember this. The farmer does not dig up the seed every morning to check if it is growing. Why? Because he trusts the process. And today, I'm asking you to trust the process. Trust that every prayer you whispered was heard. Trust that every tear you cried was noticed. Trust that every moment you felt alone. You were never truly alone, my beloved child. The reason you are hearing this message today is because something inside you needed this reminder. Maybe you were close to giving up. Maybe you were thinking, maybe it will never happen. Maybe my situation will never change. Maybe my prayers are too late. But hear this carefully. You are not at the end. You are closer than you think. The same hand that carried you through the storm is the same hand that will guide you into your next season. And there is something else you need to understand. Before a major blessing arrives, there is often a final test, not a test to break you. A test to reveal how much you have grown. Can you still believe when you cannot see? Can you still have faith when circumstances look impossible? Can you still move forward when the old version of your life is falling away? Because the person who enters the blessing cannot always be the same person who survived the struggle. The waiting season changed you, the struggle shaped you, the lessons prepared you. So, my beloved child, do not look back with regret. Do not hate the years that felt wasted. Those years built the strength you now carry. The door is not opening because you were lucky. The door is opening because you were prepared. And soon you will understand why. Everything had to happen this way, my beloved child. Now you are standing at the edge of something you cannot fully see yet. You have walked through seasons where you had more questions than answers. You have experienced moments where you wondered if the promise would ever come. But today, I want you to understand something that will change the way you look at your journey. The waiting season was not the place where your story stopped. It was the place where your story was being prepared. You thought you were being forgotten, but you were being positioned. You thought the silence meant nothing was happening. But the silence was where the greatest preparation was taking place. My child, there is a reason some doors did not open when you wanted them to. There is a reason some opportunities disappeared. There is a reason certain people walked away from your life. At the time, you saw only the pain. You saw the disappointment. You saw the unanswered prayers, but you did not see what I saw. You did not see the things I was protecting you from. You did not see the paths that would have taken you away from your purpose. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not receiving what you asked for immediately. Sometimes the greatest blessing is being protected from what would have destroyed. You think about the moments when you felt like you were losing everything. The plans you made did not work. The people you trusted changed. The dreams you carried started feeling impossible, and you asked, why is this happening to me? Why is my journey harder than everyone else's? Why do I have to wait while others receive what they prayed for? My beloved child, do not compare your chapter with someone else's entire story. You are not walking the same path. You are not carrying the same purpose. You are not preparing for the same destination. Your journey was different because your assignment is different. If this message is speaking to your heart, take a moment and write, "My season is changing," in the comments. Let this be a reminder to yourself that you are choosing faith over fear. My child, there is something powerful about a person who learns to trust during the waiting season. Anyone can believe when everything is easy. Anyone can be grateful when blessings are visible. But the person who keeps faith when the door is closed, the person who keeps praying when the answer is delayed, the person who keeps moving forward when nobody understands, that person develops a strength that cannot be taken away. And that strength is what will carry you into your next season. You have been asking for the blessing, but I have also been preparing you to handle it, because a blessing without preparation can become a burden. Door opening too soon can become a distraction. An opportunity arriving before the right time can become something you are not ready to protect. That is why the process mattered. That is why the waiting mattered. That is why every lesson mattered. My beloved child, look back for a moment. Remember, the person you were before the struggle. You were not as patient. You were not as strong. You did not understand certain things. You trusted things that were not meant to stay. You held on to situations that were not connected to your future. But through every challenge, you changed. You became wiser. You became stronger. You became more aware. The season that you wanted to escape from was the season that was building you, and now something is shifting. The same place where you experienced disappointment will become the place where you see restoration. The same heart that was broken will experience peace. Again, the same hands that felt empty will hold new opportunities. The same mind that was filled with worry will experience clarity, because your story is not ending with what happened to you. Your story is continuing with what you learned from it. My child, there is a reason I brought you to this message today. Maybe you needed confirmation. Maybe you needed strength. Maybe you needed a reminder that your journey still has purpose. But listen carefully. Do not walk away from this moment with the same fear you came with. Leave behind the belief that nothing will change. Leave behind the thought that you missed your chance. Leave behind the idea that your best days are behind you, because what is coming next does not depend on what happened before. Sometimes I have to remove the old foundation before building something greater. A tree cannot grow higher without its roots going deeper. A diamond cannot become valuable without pressure. Gold cannot be purified without fire, and a person cannot discover their strength without facing challenges. Your pressure was not meant to destroy you. It was preparing you, my beloved child. The door is closer than you think. The blessing is closer than you think. The answer is closer than you think. But before you step into your new season, there is one final thing you must release. You must release the fear that your past will repeat itself. You must release the pain of what you lost. You must release the voice that keeps telling you nothing will ever change, because that voice does not belong in the future I am preparing for you. The chapter of waiting taught you patience, but the next chapter will teach you gratitude. The chapter of struggle taught you endurance, but the next chapter will show you restoration. The chapter of tears taught you dependence, but the next chapter will reveal why you had to keep going. My beloved child, stay with me, because in the next part, I will reveal why some blessings are delayed until the exact moment when you are finally ready to receive them, and why the thing you thought was, my beloved child, you have made it this far because there is something inside your heart that knows. This message is not just about waiting. It is about understanding why the waiting happened, because sometimes the hardest part of a journey is not the struggle itself. It is not knowing why you are going through it. It is waking up every morning with questions. It is looking at your situation and wondering, God, when will this change? When will I finally see the result of my prayers? When will the door finally open? My beloved child, today I want you to understand this truth. A delayed blessing is not a forgotten blessing. Sometimes the greatest miracles are being prepared in places you cannot see. You were looking at the empty space, but I was creating something new. You were looking at the closed door, but I was preparing the key. You were looking at the ending, but I was already writing the next chapter. The reason you had to wait was not because you were denied. The reason you had to wait was because what is coming requires a stronger version of you. My child, think about a beautiful building. Before people see the beautiful walls, the lights, and the design, there is a hidden process, deep. Foundations must be created. The ground must be prepared. The structure must become strong enough to carry what is placed on it. Nobody celebrates the foundation. Nobody takes pictures of the foundation. But without the foundation, the building cannot stand. And that is what was happening in your life. The world saw your waiting. But I saw your foundation being built. There were moments when you felt invisible, moments when you gave your best and nobody noticed, moments when you helped others but nobody helped you, moments when you stayed faithful while everything around you looked uncertain. My beloved child, I saw every sacrifice, I saw every silent tear, I saw every prayer you whispered when nobody else was listening. Nothing was wasted, not one moment, not one lesson, not one tear. If you believe your season is changing, write, "I am ready for my new season" in the comments. Let this be your declaration that you are not staying trapped in the past, my child. There is something that happens right before a major change. The old version of your life begins to feel uncomfortable. The things you once accepted no longer satisfy you. The places where you once stayed become too small. The relationships that distracted you begin to fade, and you start feeling like something is changing. Even before you can see the evidence, that feeling is not random. It is a sign that you are growing beyond your previous season. You asked, why did some people leave? Why did some plans fail? Why did some opportunities disappear? My beloved child, not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things leave because they completed their purpose. Some doors close because they were never your final destination. Some people walk away because they were connected to an old version of you, not the person you're becoming. Imagine carrying a heavy bag while trying to climb a mountain. At first you think the bag is helping you, but as the climb becomes harder, you realize the same thing you were holding onto is slowing you down. Sometimes life removes things because you cannot carry yesterday and step into tomorrow at the same time. My child, your next season requires new thinking. You cannot enter a new chapter while constantly rereading the old one. You cannot receive new peace while holding on to old pain. You cannot walk into a new blessing while believing you are still the person who was hurt. The struggle changed. You, the waiting, changed. You, the lessons changed you, and now you are becoming someone who can carry what is coming. My beloved child, there is a reason the blessing did not arrive at the moment you demanded, because you were asking for the gift. But I was preparing the person who would receive it. You were asking for the opportunity. But I was building the wisdom needed to protect it. You were asking for the door to open. But I was making sure you were ready to walk through it. Sometimes people receive something too early and lose it. They receive success without character. They receive attention without preparation. They receive wealth without wisdom. But when the timing is right, the blessing does not destroy you. The blessing elevates you, my child. Your waiting season taught you something that comfort never could. It taught you patience. It taught you faith. It taught you to look beyond what your eyes could see. And now, you are approaching a moment where you will understand why the journey had to happen this way. The pain was not the final destination. The delay was not the final chapter. The struggle was not the conclusion. But listen carefully. Before every breakthrough, there is often a moment where doubt becomes louder, a moment where you are tempted to give up right before the change arrives. This is why many people stop too early. They quit during the final stretch. They walk away before seeing the reward. They abandon the dream before the door opens. But you are still here. You are still listening. You are still believing. And that tells me something important. Your faith survived the storm, my beloved child. The same situation that once made you cry will become the testimony that makes you grateful. One day you will look back and say, I understand now. I understand why that door closed. I understand why I had to wait. I understand why the timing was different. Because sometimes the answer is not revealed during the storm. It is revealed after you survive it. And now, your story is moving into a new chapter. A chapter of restoration. A chapter of unexpected opportunities, a chapter where you begin to see the results of everything you survived. But there is still one final truth you need to discover. Because before the blessing arrives, you must recognize the signs that the waiting season is truly coming to an end. In the next part, we will uncover the signs that show your divine breakthrough is closer than you think. My beloved child, you have reached this moment because your heart was searching for an answer. Maybe you did not know exactly what you were looking for. Maybe you were simply hoping for a sign, a reminder, a message that would tell you, keep going, do not give up. Your story is not over. And today, I want you to understand something powerful. The season that tested your faith is becoming the season that reveals your strength. The same chapter that brought you tears will become the chapter that shows you how far you have come. My beloved child, there are signs that appear before a new season begins. Not everyone recognizes them. Some people are so focused on what they lost that they fail to notice what is changing. But today, I want to open your eyes to what is happening around you, because your breakthrough does not always arrive with a loud announcement. Sometimes it begins quietly, a new thought, a new opportunity, a new connection, a new strength. Inside your heart, a peace that you cannot explain, the first sign that your season is changing. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. There was a time when you tried to force certain doors open. You tried to convince people to understand. You tried to hold on to things that were already leaving. You thought losing them meant losing your future. But now something has changed. You are beginning to understand. What is truly meant for you will not require you to destroy your peace to receive it. My child, there is freedom when you finally release what you cannot control. You stop asking, why did they leave? Why did it happen this way? Why was my journey different? And you start asking, what is this teaching me? What is this preparing me for? Where am I being guided next? That change in your heart is not small. That is growth. If you feel that you are entering a new chapter, write, "My new season begins" in the comments. Let this be a reminder that you are choosing hope instead of fear, my beloved child. The second sign that your waiting season is ending, you begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. The same situation that once looked impossible starts revealing possibilities. The same challenge that once broke your confidence starts building your character. You begin to realize, I survived what I thought would destroy me. I'm stronger than I thought. I'm not the same person I was before. You see, my child, a caterpillar does not understand why it must enter darkness before becoming something beautiful. Inside the cocoon, everything looks like an ending, but what looks like an ending is actually transformation. The butterfly does not escape the process. The butterfly becomes beautiful because of the process, and your waiting season was your transformation. There were things inside you that had to change. Fear had to become courage. Doubt had to become faith. Weakness had to become strength. Dependence on people had to become trust in the divine plan, because the blessing coming into your life requires a new mindset, my beloved child. The third sign that your season is changing. Your peace returns before your blessing appears. Listen carefully. Many people think the blessing comes first, and then they find peace. But often, peace comes first because peace is a sign that you have stopped fighting the timing. You have stopped trying to control every detail. You have started trusting that what is meant for you will arrive at the right moment. Maybe recently you felt something different inside. Maybe you cannot explain it. Your circumstances may not have completely changed, but your heart feels lighter. Your mind feels calmer. Your hope is returning, my child. That is not nothing. That is the beginning of a shift. The fourth sign. The things that used to distract you no longer have power over you. The old habits, the old fears, the old doubts, the old voices telling you that you are not enough. They are becoming weaker because you are becoming stronger. You are no longer controlled by the same things that controlled you before, my beloved child. Do not underestimate what happened during your waiting season. You thought you were just waiting for a blessing. but you were becoming someone who could carry it. You were building patience. You were building wisdom. You were building endurance. You were building a deeper connection with faith. Remember this, a person who receives everything instantly may never understand the value of what they have, but someone who waited, someone who struggled, someone who prayed through uncertainty, they understand the blessing differently. They protect it, they appreciate it, they recognize its value. My child, I know there were moments when you felt forgotten, moments when you looked around and saw others moving forward, moments when you questioned if your opportunity had passed. But hear this clearly. Your timing is not late, your journey is not behind, your story is not finished sometimes. A seed planted in the ground looks forgotten, but the farmer knows the harvest is coming. The hidden season is not the wasted season. The quiet season is not the empty season. The waiting season is not the rejected season. My beloved child, you are closer than you think. The kill you have been waiting for is not as far away as it feels. The answer you have been praying for is not as distant as you believe. But there is one more thing you must learn before you step into the blessing. You must learn how to recognize what belongs to your new season and what belongs to your old one, because when the door opens, not everything standing in front of you is meant to walk through it with you. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will talk about the final preparation before the blessing arrives. The moment when you stop living from survival and begin living from purpose, my beloved child. Now you are standing at a very important moment of your journey, because before a new season begins, there is always a moment of decision, a moment where you must choose whether you will continue carrying the weight of the past, or whether you will finally make room for what is coming. And today, I want you to understand something deeply. You cannot walk into a new blessing while still holding on to an old pain. You cannot receive a new beginning while constantly living inside an old ending. You cannot embrace the future while your heart is still trapped in yesterday. My beloved child, I know there are memories you still carry, moments that changed you, words that hurt you, situations you never expected to experience. There are things you still ask yourself. Why did this happen? Why did they treat me that way? Why did I have to go through that season? And I know sometimes those memories return when you least expect them. A quiet moment, a lonely night, a simple reminder, and suddenly you feel the weight of everything again. But listen carefully, my child. The pain you experienced was real, but it does not have permission to control your future. What happened to you is part of your story, but it is not the definition of your story. The chapter was painful, but the entire book is not painful. There are still pages you have not read. There are still moments you have not experienced. There are still blessings you have not seen. My beloved child, there is a reason I allowed you to walk through difficult seasons, not because I wanted to see you suffer, not because your tears were ignored, but because there were parts of you that could only be developed through the journey. You discovered your strength when you thought you had none. You discovered your faith when everything around you looked uncertain. You discovered your courage when fear was telling you to stop. Think about a piece of gold. When it is found, it does not immediately shine like a treasure. It goes through a process. It is cleaned, it is purified, it is shaped. The process may feel uncomfortable, but the purpose of the process is to reveal its true value. And my child, your waiting season was not meant to destroy your value. It was meant to reveal it. If you are still believing that your best days are ahead, write, "My story is not over" in the comments. Let those words remind your own heart that your journey is still moving forward. My beloved child, now let me tell you about something important. Before your blessing arrives, you may notice that some things start changing around you. Some conversations become different. Some relationships become distant. Some opportunities appear unexpectedly. Some desires you once had begin to disappear. Do not be afraid of these changes because sometimes preparation looks like separation. There are moments when I remove things from your hands because your hands need to be free for what is coming. You may not understand it. Immediately, you may ask, why did this leave? Why did this opportunity disappear? Why did this person walk away? But later, you will look back and realize what you thought was a loss was actually protection. My child, not every closed door is a punishment. Some closed doors are mercy. Some delays are protection. Some endings are directions. Sometimes I have to move you away from something familiar so you can move towards something greater. Remember this, A ship cannot discover new oceans if it refuses to leave the harbor. A bird cannot discover the sky if it refuses to leave the nest. And sometimes you cannot discover your next season until you release the comfort of your old one. My beloved child, I know change can be frightening, even when something better is coming. Leaving the old behind can feel difficult because the old was familiar. You knew its pain, you knew its struggles, you knew how to survive there. But the new season requires something different from you. It requires faith. It requires courage. It requires you to believe that what is ahead is greater than what is behind. There is something I want you to remember every time fear tries to return. You survived the season you thought you could not survive. You survived the nights you thought would never end. You survived the moments you thought would break you. You